for joining us, man.
Welcome to Leap Sales with Ian Nethercott and Larry Feldman live.
If you look at the last 4 years again, we've answered 41 million phone calls for dealers over the last 4 years with our AI platform. We've also handled over 150 million text messages. And so when you look at just those raw numbers, that's a 4-to-1, 3.5, 4-to-1 text to phone call. So I don't know. Here's what I can tell you, though. I believe that the customer wants to be met where they are presently. If that is text, voice, video call, if they want to be engaged and engaged instantly.
So first of all, I wanted to get a comment from everybody on the new $640,000 Ferrari electric that was designed by former Apple chief designer Jonathan Ive.
I just saw it in yellow, and they said they don't think it'll ever make it to the American market.
Yeah. Well, they're saying their stock's already dropped 5 points.
They said good luck in the Chinese market, but it'll never make it in the American market.
The comment here was that it looks like a redo of the failed Apple car that never made it to market.
if at first you don't succeed, try again. Huh?
I don't know. I don't know. It's supposedly fast though. It's fast, I hear.
Oh, electric cars are fast. There's no doubt.
Anyway, I just was laughing. Even in red, it looks bad. But anyway, someone thought there was a good opportunity there. So I just got to share here. 1 sec.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Hi, Gary.
I was talking about Gary. I was talking about you today with Brandy from Disclose. She was talking about you
wonderful.
Today. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I have a word to the wise too for people that are selling to the automotive industry. I've been looking a little outside the industry for some of the sponsors that I work with, and company you may want to take a look at is Ritchie Brothers. So if you're not familiar with Ritchie Brothers, they're the largest global auction site for different types of equipment on planet Earth. They're in 60 countries. So they auction.
There's one in my town across the highway.
They auction everything. So if you're, teach people how to sell things, answer phone calls, hire people, they're massive company. So
there's a local guy. They sell a lot of large farm equipment.
Oh yeah, they sell
very big. Yeah, no, I've been following them, and that is a big organization. So it's just everything strictly auction.
Yeah, but I think I haven't figured out yet, and I've had people ask, is did they service stuff? I don't know, but they sell everything: cars, heavy loaders, farm equipment, you name it.
See, now you got to get into that stream of who's the lenders, and then the lenders can bring the F&I products.
Yeah, I don't know because I went down this road because I don't know if you're familiar with a company called Finning, but Finning sells Caterpillars in like 5 countries. So I was talking to them, and then I was thinking about Ritchie Brothers. I'm like 60 countries. Holy crap.
I represent a service contract called Ag Guard.
Okay.
And they write coverage on all of that equipment. And so that's where I know, because there's that's a big business. And I've been watching that. And that's where Brandy and I were talking, is that you can sell anything, anywhere. And so that was the conversation we were having with her product.
Yeah, maybe some of these Ferrari electrics when no one wants them. For $640,000 a copy.
I've been going to Ritchie Brothers for 4 decades.
Yeah,
they're not far from my house, and we've been buying farming equipment and landscaping, heavy duty truck equipment there for forever, trailers.
Yeah.
If you want a backhoe, all kinds of stuff there. But the one problem with taking equipment there is when you put it up for auction, there is no reserve. It's whatever you put it there, and whatever it brings is what it sells for. So you need to understand the rules of that auction. I go to a lot of farm auctions and stuff over the years, but when I used to deal with different commercial trucking stuff and government procurement stuff and dealing with GSA. I used to see a lot of goods that we used to take from one area and then drop it over from GSA and drop it at Ritchie Brothers, but there is no reserve. It's, you know, if you're trying to get $7,000 out of it and it brings 3, you're getting 3. So you can lose money pretty quickly. But, you know, ironically, I've never lost money at that sale on commercial equipment. So that's the other positive thing. If you do your research and see what stuff's selling for, I mean, there are a lot of specialized buyers, and unlike everything, you know, everything has been online for a long time, but you can actually go to the Ritchie Brothers in Illinois. Well, I think there's more than one, but the one that's closer to my house, it's in between like Naperville and going like to Ottawa and I-80, like going to Starved Rock, if any of you ever been there. So when you're going down to Starved Rock, you know, if you go to Ritchie Brothers and go to their commercial auction, there's actually a lot of people there inspecting all the products. So it's pretty interesting, you know, place. So to me, I just like to go there because I like to collect junk too.
But they're in 60 countries. So if you're doing something to do with some form of dealership or some form of selling of stuff, they sell stuff at scale. I didn't know if they serviced equipment. I have no idea. I don't think so, but they're huge.
I don't think so.
Yeah. And the other company is they're a master Caterpillar franchiser in multiple countries. They're called Finning. So they sell in like Brazil and the UK and a bunch of other companies. So countries. The other one that I ran into is a company called Octane. So if you're not familiar with Octane, their big markets are power sports and RVs. They do financing and different things. So if you're looking to get into either of those markets, that might be a good conduit for you. So if you're interested in those ones, let me know. But on the EV side, I'm also been building some connections with Chinese EV companies because they're showing up where I live in terms of locations. I think they're going to sell about 70,000 Chinese EVs in Canada this year. But what I've noticed, well, there's 4 main brands that'll probably appear. So the ones, if you're not familiar, you probably know BYD. There's Great Wall.
No, really?
Yeah, one's called Great Wall. There's another one called Cherry, which was in a lawsuit with Chevrolet because they didn't like the fact it was close. And I think there's a couple others, but those are the 3 main ones at scale. BYD already sells batteries and solar everywhere anyway, but because they started batteries, I think they even sell batteries to Tesla. I don't know. But they're going to be moving through retail. I'm just not sure as to. I'm assuming that's corporate retail owned by BYD or whoever. But there may also be franchise stuff available. And for the Dunkin' Donuts fans, they're coming to Canada with 700 locations this year to take on Tim Hortons head to head, which should be interesting. Since Tim Hortons has 4,000 locations, so we'll see how that goes, but it'll be interesting for sure. So if you're a donut fan,
it's all about real estate.
Hey man, that's a big bet. 700, that's a big number.
Hey, can we straighten Larry out?
I don't know if you can straighten him out. He looks like he's on.
He's sideways. And
too much coke.
I don't know if he's on purpose.
I'm plugged into my phone, so I turned it sideways so I can keep the juice rolling. I can unplug it. I'm sure we'll be fine here.
You can always turn it around.
You can always do it at an angle.
Hey, it's the first time I've ever been straightened out, so it's good. I'm overdue.
Mike,
we'll straighten you out.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing your screen on StreamYard with the duck.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sharing the wrong screen probably. Let me switch that.
I'm like seeing 2 of me, and one of me is a duck.
All right, let me share. Let me add it. Sorry.
Take down the screen, Ian.
I'll just go to this one. There we go. How's that? Is that better?
Techie guys, you gotta have it's the same thing. You gotta saw.
Take down the screen, Ian.
Let me just see.
That was a shared screen.
Because it was shared here. That's why.
It
was shared twice. It was shared twice. I was sharing too much. All right, here we go.
I feel at home now.
You look much better.
There we go.
I do.
Thanks for that. I didn't realize it was doing that. Interesting. There we
I
go.
just texted you. Guess you're not paying attention.
No, I'm paying attention. There's just lots going on. So on the EV side, I think it's going to be interesting. I'm actually having a discussion with the CEO and owner of Go Auto next week. I'm going to do a live interview on 70 locations. I'm curious to what he says since he has locations in both countries. But I'm curious as to whether EVs with more lower cost options, both from the Chinese, but also from other manufacturers who I'm sure are trying to compete with them. Do you think that's going to resurrect the demand for EVs? What do you think?
Well, Ian, you started the show showing the $640,000 Ferrari, which I think we would all agree is a one. But when you get into a need is always affordability. I mean, I was a Hyundai dealer. When Hyundai came in the country, you could buy a Hyundai Excel for $69.95. And when you consider the one problem we're having now is how high these damn payments are, discounting, of course, that so many people are having equity in their cars. But I know they're very resistant to letting the Chinese sell in this country. But I mean, let's face it, if you're faced with a payment that's $800 as opposed to $300 or $400, out of necessity, a lot of people are going to lean to a shorter payment. And necessity is the mother of invention. So I think it's always going to be an issue. And you get situations like this where gas has bounced back to $4.20, $4.50. And then all of a sudden using electricity rather than gas makes sense. So seems like there's a lot of viable options. And anybody that's got their finger on the pulse of the car business will tell you they were already excited about the used car aspect of the electric vehicles because so many of them were coming back off a lease and a lot of the depreciation had gone out, including the incentives. So I think there's going to be an interesting market for EVs, particularly the used ones. And if things can, persist with extremely high payments, who knows what could happen,
Well, the brand MG from back in the day?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's owned by a Chinese company now. So you may see that brand show up as an MG brand because it was originally a British company. But
right.
The way I look at it is, let's just say your average EV is 40,000. I don't know what a new EV is, but let's just say it's 40,000. If someone can deliver one for 25, I think it's going to be a win for consumers. I just don't know what the appetite is. Has that changed, or do you think it's just a price point? I don't know.
Well, I think it's a hell of a dichotomy that an electric company in China is using MG because anybody old enough to remember, the one problem with all the British cars was their electrical systems were terrible. Always.
Exactly. So
Ironic.
Ironic for sure, but it's funny because you look at these brands and you go, okay, well, if like Polestar is owned by a Chinese company too, but if you look at if they could push through that I guess vehicle under different brands, it may show up anyway. So I don't know. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you got to lower the pricing, but I think one of the ways to do that is use, to your point, Larry. The other way is to look at decontenting vehicles to make them more affordable. Like, does everything have to have everything, right?
Ian, the payments are $800 a month. To decontent, you'd have to take the motor out, and then you really wouldn't have to worry about gas efficiency.
That's it.
Yeah, but like companies
Once
like
you went
Slate,
downhill.
companies like Slate are doing that, right? Slate is that new, I think Amazon backed pickup truck that's basically like a Lego. Like you can add whatever. I mean, I think that's an area that's really interesting, just because when's the last time you saw an entry level bench seat pickup that was affordable and new? I mean, I don't think there's much out there. I think there's a Ford Maverick or something, but I haven't seen much else.
Hey, Ian, let's get some input. It's Sandy's making an appearance, and we love it. Matt, he was great last week helping us with what we missed at the SodaCon. And our buddy Alec is back. Good, Alec, Sandy, Matt. What do you think? What are your thoughts with EVs coming back in some capacity? Hey, just before I ask you three guys, you know what else we might see? If you think about how liquid transitions have been and mergers, maybe there's some kind of detente, if I can use the Russian word rather than the Chinese word, and we see some kind of merger with a Chinese company and an American company. Only because, again, with the prices of the vehicles and with the market being so starved, that's all. I'm just throwing that up, food for thought.
Never know.
But you would see, it looks like Ford is trying to take a little step, forward in at least exploring options with Chinese. Maybe that would be where at least they could have some kind of control.
Gary, have you ever read The Reckoning by the late great David Halberstam? At one point, it may be the best book ever written on the car business. It was the guy that won the Pulitzer for the best and brightest. And he tells, not an anecdote, a true story, that Henry Ford was offered, the second, not the first, of course, was offered a chance to buy Toyota. And he said, I would never buy a cheap junk company like that. So you talk about altering history,
Exactly.
That's like Google. That's like the yellow book having an opportunity to buy Google, right? Netflix having an opportunity to buy Blockbuster. Hindsight's pretty painful in many respects.
Yep.
I think, listen, I think Volvo's actually got an edge here in their relationship with Geely, right? Yeah. I think if they can get the plants in Mexico to manufacture there and bring the product in from Mexico, that's probably a very viable Chinese product avenue into the U.S. Volvo's already producing some pretty cool cars with the Polestar and whatnot.
But that's the pipeline. So they're going to come in through Volvo, and that seems to be already paved.
And then the whole VW model, right, of sort of democratizing the skateboard to other companies, they're doing a good job, right? Scout's booming here in South Carolina, driving a lot of buzz. So I laugh about the MG thing because I've got a 72, 73 midget sitting in the garage waiting for me to wrench on it when I have time. So.
With the problem with the wiring harness.
No, definitely, and amongst a myriad of other things.
Hey, Matt, before I jump back and let's hear from Alec and Wendy and Sandy. We were a Sterling dealer briefly. I didn't own the place yet. I was a salesman, and it was exciting. And anybody that knows, or maybe you don't know, basically the Acura and the Sterling were identical. The difference was the Sterling was built in Britain, and I was all excited, man, a new line of cars. And I'm not making this up, Matt. I went out and tried to start 11 straight Sterlings, and all of them were dead. Their electrical problems were just frightening.
Sounds like the Avante. It sounds like the Avante. Remember that?
Oh, jeez. When I was
people point at Classic Coke. I'm a Coke drinker. That when they changed their formula, how nauseated their people were. But if you think about it, when you think about how innovative a guy like Henry Ford was, and some of the things we've seen, are there any bigger dummies than we have in the car business? Before I was a Cadillac salesman / then dealer, these geniuses decided to make a Cimarron, which was a Chevy Nova with a Cadillac front, and then they sat around and they must have really had good weed. I don't smoke weed, but it must have been good. They said, let's do a 6-cylinder Cadillac, a 468 Cadillac, and a diesel Cadillac. And I'm not a lawyer, but I bet you they're still settling lawsuits for the 4100 and the diesel, because I don't think there was one good motor in the whole batch.
And then they tried to shove Maserati and a LeBaron together, and they tried to dial that up.
How about the Versailles? It was a Lincoln that was basically a Granada. Alec, you're laughing too hard. You got to have a good comment here. And then let's hear from Sandy and Wendy. And I mean, we always love to hear from David.
I was just going to add that price is absolutely a critical thing, because when we started really fueling in the end of 24 electric vehicle sales, it was because of the rebates. And customers going into electric vehicles still feel that they are a high risk, because if the battery has a cell issue or anything else, it's a crapshoot of how long it's going to take to get the vehicle back. Especially with like ICCUs with Kia and Hyundai.
Yeah.
But still a good quality car, still quiet, and still decent range. Most people, the range is not the issue. It's what is it really going to work when I need it to go take me somewhere? Or am I going to be, or do I have Uber anxiety where am I in range for an Uber if it fails?
And God forbid you get in a car accident. Not the cheapest repair.
Car accident, yes, but what's worse is a fire.
Mm.
Fire is much worse.
But if you're a new driver and you're looking at buying your first car and one's 50 and one's 25, do you think that's going to matter to them?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. 25 every single time.
Yeah.
Well, and combined with escalating gas prices, it's about the monthly out of pocket. We all know that closing on, right? Fundamentally, they're just looking at how they manage their available wallet every month. And when you look at EV, it may not be the only car in the driveway, but for a multi-car household, it's a really smart play right now. I think in the US, there's a ton of political whiplash around EVs, right? Where it shouldn't be. It really gets politicized in a lot of ways that it doesn't really deserve. But I think the technology is coming around to a point where people are starting to trust it quite a bit more. And once they drive one, it's so funny, all the government rebates went away and everybody's dumping their EVs and trying to get rid of them at auction, and suddenly gas prices are $5, $7, $8 a gallon, and now everybody's rushing to them. It's a huge revenue opportunity in the used market.
Matt, the only reason it became politicized is nobody learned a lesson in the government from the 20s with prohibition. Saying to somebody, if you want an electric car, buy it, enjoy it is great, but saying you can't have anything but an electric car is where they ran into problems. And just ask Ford how much money they lost by being pushed in that direction.
True, and also it's lobbying, right? It's
Sure.
It's oil lobbies because it represents a major threat to their revenue streams.
Yep.
So.
I think Honda had the first loss in its history.
Hey, we got Wendy popping back in. Wendy, I'm sorry I got in a little late on the human AI, but it was still really cool. What are your thoughts with the EVs?
So I haven't been present for enough of the conversation to know what you guys have been talking about. What's the topic or the question or the?
Are EVs going to make a comeback? And we're discussing the fact that because their price points are so low in terms of what the Chinese are making, and gas is so high, there was definitely a spike recently in electrical cars because people are scared to death, as Matt said, with the monthly outlay altogether. Are we going to see a merger? Is it going to be Volvo? Is it going to be another company that merges? Because being able to sell a car for half or 40% or even 60% of what you can sell a car that's on the market for now might make all the difference in the world. That's where we're coming in before you jumped in.
Yeah, so I have no data or anything with which to make an educated decision or comment. But in my opinion, I think it's common sense that if gas is getting higher and higher and now they're finding ways, like with companies like Lightflow or Plug or whatever, there's a lot more ways where we can do more research and kind of know what we're getting into product-wise, right? Is that common sense? So for me, because like for me, living in Phoenix, I mean, I don't think I'd want to, I'd still have range anxiety, like driving out in the desert or like going up a couple hours north even to see Kaylee, for example, because if I got stuck on a mountain road by myself, I'm screwed, right? So, and with our extreme heat, it was interesting. I was just telling Wes Gerhardt, I have a full basketball hoop with a base that you can fill with water or sand, and it's telescoping. And I thought, it's out of my patio. 20-mile wind gusts yesterday. The thing freaking tipped over in my patio and landed and shattered a glass top table. And I thought, thank God, one of my new grandbabies wasn't under it.
Yep.
Water evaporated in the base in the 9 years. In the 9 months since I moved here. Who knows, right? So I think Arizona would be suicidal, in my opinion, for a regular car all the time. But for a daily driver or like me who never goes anywhere, I think it would make a lot of sense to buy it pre-owned and have the ability now to do a lot more research in the battery and this, that, and the other. And they're improving in so many other ways, kind of facilitating the daily upkeep and the availability of chargers and all that, right? Does that sound at all based on anything real? I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
Sandy, what do you think?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Sandy.
I love being here, and it just cracks me up. I'm making an appearance. There are some Wednesdays that I do a Woken thing on, and it always ends up being on Wednesdays. So.
Sandy, when you're not on, we don't have the show. Mike Larkin has a huge crush on you. He's just trying to find a romantic avatar to send your way.
Oh, Larry.
Found me in
Must be
too.
the hat.
And I always definitely want to make sure I say hello to Rhonda because she keeps everything going.
100%.
Well, I press the buttons.
Absolutely.
Well, exactly. You
And
press
she's
all
getting
the
into
buttons.
heaven ahead of Mother Teresa. All she had to deal with was leper. She has to deal with me on a constant basis. Talk about a trying
She'll
situation.
get sainthood. Seriously, that should give her sainthood. I can't say that I'm like an expert in this. I'm an expert in my own, in what is attractive to me and in how expensive things are, and certainly gas, right? So when I hear that EVs can be purchased for less, of course, the first thing I always think about is like, how much does it cost to charge it, right? Like, I honestly have no idea. I was in a, this was maybe like a year and a half ago. I was on some call and it was these two women who were opening a pre-owned EV store. And I can't remember what it was called. And so I was full of all these questions, right? And it was really great because they were answering the novices' questions, right? Which I would definitely say I'm a novice when it comes to EV. What I can say is I've seen a lot of them. And in crazy places, I think one time we talked about EVs, I saw a ton of Chinese EVs in Cuba, like crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, everybody that I talk to that has one loves it. That's what I know. Like, I've never heard anybody who drives an EV say they were sorry that they got it.
Talk to David Rosick. He remembers in Chicago a couple years ago when they were basically popsicles. Remember, David? It got real cold and they all froze.
Yeah, I owned one and traded in because of that.
And
So-
Gary owns one too, right? Gary, you own an
Well,
EV.
you got caught on too
I have,
many.
I have the Mach-E. I have the Mach-E before.
Didn't one just blow up in Manhattan the other day?
Oh, I don't know.
I think so, down in Wall Street area.
The other thing that, like, I don't know anything about EV upkeep, right? Like, I know that there's not a lot of EV technicians out there. There's not a lot of schools that train for EV.
And you're good as long as you do frequent oil changes.
I do know. I'm
Very
not that
funny.
old. I actually do know that it wouldn't have that, right? Like, so it's not the regular upkeep. So it's a whole. It's a.
You're right. You have no internal lubricating parts, and there's the
Right.
big powertrain is gone.
Right. So is that a lot less?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Lot
yeah,
less
the tires
maintenance.
and
A lot
maintenance and
less
brakes are
right?
more expensive though.
Brakes and tires.
Yeah,
Brakes
it's
and
more
tires.
expensive for
Brakes
an
and
EV.
tires are more expensive.
And they wear out more, David, right? Because the car's so heavy.
Yeah. Well, it's the way the power recharges on those. I mean, 8 years ago, when I was with Bill Jacobs, we started a used EV lot, and it was called Current Automotive, which it still exists. We moved it from Naperville to Hinsdale by the Land Rover store. But we had great market. I mean, we were going around the country and we were buying Leafs and we were buying all these Priuses, and we would sell 60 to 100 every month. But the funny thing is that most of them, if I go back 7 years ago, that we were selling were to places that we were buying them from. So I would buy them from California and then turn around and sell them back in that market. It was just, we were more negotiable on because our demand was different. So, I mean, don't ask me why, but I could go in Florida and buy EVs or even hybrids, bring them here to Chicago, and then turn around and remarket them. And 70% of them would sell in the same areas we bought them from. So it was the strangest thing. But we had a ton of success with it. Yes.
Do you know like what the different or are there numbers out there? Like, as a consumer, right? Like, if I'm thinking about an EV, I'm gonna look at how much I've paid for maintenance on my Honda Civic.
Yep.
Right. My 2020 Honda Civic. And it's gotten up there. Like, when you need the whatever, however many miles, and then it's, I mean, I probably have paid for maintenance for my car, and I do it at the dealership.
$1,000 every time.
Probably go to a Repair Pal, which is a Cars Commerce company, and you can probably find
Actually, a
out
Yelp
that-
company. Where PayPal was bought by Yelp.
No, it's Repair Pal.
Repair Pal.
Yeah,
Repair Pal.
Yeah, Kathleen Long's.
Yeah, I just remember that particular company had a lot of data that we used to pull off and use for SEO.
So like I want to know what the difference is. Like
And I would go in there and figure out all that, pull that data off there and write reports about it.
Yeah.
But I could ask a couple of my friends to pull that data. That's good SEO meat. So when you use like Matt's tool, you can go on the back end, and I'm sure you can add an AI agent and ask them those queries, and it can actually build you a comparison page as to what the cost of ownership is for a Tesla and Model blank versus a hybrid versus a Kia K4. You can do all these different queries and write about it, so that people that have these questions on a large language model or Gemini can find that data. So, but those are good questions that people are asking. And sorry, Matt.
I was going to say, I bought an electric vehicle because I felt I needed to know how these things operated if I was going to sell service contracts on these. So I for the last 4 years played a crash test dummy. And when you start looking at the comparisons between gas and what you're paying if you're commuting, if you're relying on chargers that you got to find every time you go to a charger, it may run you $15-$20, and it may give you 200 more miles. It adds to your range. So I always looked at it for people that want convenience. The beauty is I can park my car in my driveway and I can run a simple 110 charging cord and I can plug in. Now it takes 20 hours to do my whole car, but if I'm not going anywhere, now I'm not paying for gas. So it's based on the situation. And so what I've been trying to say to dealers is that 20%, 25% of your customer base would buy an electric vehicle if you explain to them how they operate. And a lot of them still haven't got to that point, because here we have people who talk about auto every day and there's gray areas. Dealers do need to embrace or allow one or two of their people to be the EV experts, because it is a process. And if you don't help, if you have somebody who lives in an apartment complex and they've got chargers all over the place and every night they can plug in, well, that's a cost of living. But it's another option. The used car, I look at this, just my 2 cents, and then I'll pass it on. For dealers who want to make money this summer, buy some pre-owned EVs. I wish we had like John Ellis or Keith Schrader, because those guys can instantly tell us what cars the dealers should be buying that the customers want, and they just want it from a reputable place, somebody that knows. So if your dealership knows how to handle EV, well, they're going to have a lot more confidence, because it's not going away. It's just what percentage of business is going to be EV.
Gary, I have a question for you. What does charging your car do to your electric bill at home?
It really hasn't, because it's a 110. Some people I know in apartments and in places, they really have, their electric bill did go up. But but what also is, if you really wanted a high speed charger, like you need to run a 220, like you have a range or a dryer. So I never did that. I just plugged it into a regular outlet. But that runs, probably anywhere. The systems are $700-$800, and then you need an electrician, which is probably another, $700-$800. So you have your different expenses. But then you have dealerships that get smart and they include the installation. Ford will give them a home charger, and then the dealer will hire some local electricians and say, hey, we've got installations for our customers, and they'll go and knock it out. And now you got a customer for life. So those are the things to make it another service that you can use to win customers. Because a lot of people still found that EVs, they feel better about themselves. So it's going to be a market. Use it.
Yeah, I always compare it to when hybrids were a new thing. There were a lot of the salesmen didn't want to even talk about them because like, hybrid. But, you know, the reality is if you talk to people about hybrid, yeah, a percentage of people buy it. Electric, same thing. But a percentage of people won't. But really, they're looking for help. They're looking for advice. Just like Sandy, like, is it the right car for me? I don't know. Like, I have this Civic. I'm looking at, you know, electric, hybrid, whatever, gas. Like, what should I do, right? And really, it's a question of sitting down with them and saying, okay, here's the pros and cons. I also have a friend who has a Mach-E like you, Gary, who lives in, actually, it's Brandy. She has a Mach-E and a diesel pickup. And she says the reason they have a diesel pickup is like the EV might not always suit her. Part of it is the weather where she's at, but also she just doesn't want to be reliant on that vehicle only. So, you know.
They're fun. They're fun. A nice, dry. They're quick as hell. You can go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. And they're fun. I call it the fastest golf cart I'll ever drive. So that part of it's real nice. But here's the last thing. My radio, out of warranty, I went to turn on the radio and the radio isn't working. And they told me it's only $2,500 because they got to rip apart the whole dashboard to get to the module. And I'm like, I'm getting rid of this car. Now that pricing is coming back, maybe I can off it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can say.
If I may share something.
Yeah, go ahead.
On EVs, because being here close by Irvine, we run 3 major auction houses here in Southern California. One is Anaheim, which was closed this week because of the leak in Garden Grove. So I watched Riverside and Fontana, and they run about 3,000 cars per day through that auction. And today, about 20% were EVs, Teslas.
Wow.
And they went as high as $17,000, $18,000. Because
what was the average miles in years?
It was 2020, 2022, 2021, and under 40,000 miles.
Okay,
and,
so fresh inventory, fresh.
Yeah. No, they have, because the lease returns are Tesla about 2 years, and they went to depreciation, like Larry said, about 50% in California. Because in California, especially Southern California, the freeways are so large. You got Ventura County, LA County, Orange County, San Diego, San Bernardino, Riverside. So Southern California is huge. So unless you're in Irvine, the geek town, Koreatown, as we call it, or that kind of thing, where the mileage is 300 to 350 miles, they don't mind. But highways and all of that, then you got to be hybrid or anything like that. Because now, finally today, about 20%, I would say 18-20% were finally EVs, because California gas hitting at $6.50 a gallon. But the rest were 50% were hybrid, because we want the best of everything. Because of the charging, like you said, people living in homes, the charging is a little bit expensive, because less expensive because you're at home, and while you're sleeping, it takes about 10 to 12 hours. But if you're in an apartment, unless you got Tesla charging stations all around you, then to do it, it takes about 4 hours to get 250 miles, because they only give you 80% max charging. So as far as maintenance, your biggest expense is not so much charging, that is time. So a lot of Uber drivers and Lyft drivers that need to charge, and then they got to stick around minimum of 2 to 3 hours to get about 200 miles into their cars, so they could go and do another. because the ride to LAX from Orange County to LAX is about 100 miles round trip. You see, so that's hindrance. But maintenance can be the biggest expense is electricity and tires. Tires are the biggest expense, but there's a big uptick in getting EVs back in Southern California because of the gas ever since the war started.
Well, plus if you can get them for 17 grand, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
So the tire expense is not any different from a gas powered car, right?
No, it's,
No.
I think you replace the tires
Yeah,
more.
they're heavier
More
cars,
often.
so it wears them faster.
Every 8,000 miles.
Every 8,000 miles you have to
Yeah,
replace.
the
Yeah.
batteries can weigh, it depends on the car, but they could weigh 10,000 pounds for some of these things.
Oh, because they weigh more.
Oh yeah, like if you look at that Hummer EV, I think that thing weighs like 30,000 pounds.
Well, I mean, if you're
And the
driving.
batteries cost a hell of a lot more for
yeah.
a full EV. A full EV, they're like 18 grand or no,
Yeah.
12 or
Yeah.
they're expensive if they go. And so that's where everyone's afraid of.
Apparently,
Well, they're
the
warranted
radio
up to
costs a lot of money,
150,000
too.
miles.
Yeah,
So
especially an 8-year
the
warranty.
money should be in refurbished EV batteries.
Yeah.
Well, there's a company called I think XCare. A buddy of mine, Brent. I was actually asked them to come on the show, but I guess he couldn't make it. But they do extended warranties on these things, so they'll extend the warranty for a dealer. But the other thing is, if you're a used dealer or a new dealer and you're buying it as used, make sure that you know what you're buying. Make sure you test that battery to see what's actually left, because you don't want to be buying this thing and then selling it, and then 6 months later the customer comes back, oh yeah, you owe me a battery now, right?
There's a couple of companies out there that are doing a good job with batteries for life. So there's solutions. You know, the warranty providers are writing service contracts for pre-owned EVs. So it's a market and it's no different. You just need protection on what could fail so you can figure out what your budgets are. You know, I mean, pay me now or pay me later. You know, you buy a used EV, put a service contract, buy coverage on the battery, and you've got a very affordable vehicle.
What's a coverage like on a
Yeah,
battery, like extended coverage? Is that any idea?
If it's under 6 years and under 75,000 miles, it's lifetime.
But what kind of cost? Like, what does that look like?
We'll talk offline.
Okay, all right.
I'm
I'm just
not
curious.
allowed to talk.
Okay, I'm just
pricing.
curious. I don't know. I'm curious.
Yeah, no, there's available for ICE, hybrid, and full EV, and so they're available.
There's a company out there, Lightflow, that's doing some pretty good stuff for dealers on the VDP side as well. Right, often you hear dealers that are a little pensive about putting them in inventory because it's just a different animal than their sales teams are used to selling, etc. And Lightflow like brings all of the data to the VDP in like an interactive environment. Talks about percentage battery life that's actually left on that particular car, the overall health, the range, the charging stations in the area, all of the things so that like sales teams and customers can better understand a lot of the dynamics and considerations of the car. It was founded by Ryan Austin, who was at Gubagoo.
Okay.
When they got acquired by Reynolds, he finished there and then started Lightflow. And the product is just really intuitive. And, you know, if I were still on the retail side, hugely valuable to the sales team and like communicating the story around pre-owned EV. So
gives them the whole story, so they can.
And I think it's a lot of just how the dealer's able to immerse the EV language expertise and you know, their ability to communicate the value of the vehicle and the selling points of it as well, right? If a dealer can get good at that, boy, are there a ton of revenue opportunities in the wholesale to retail market right now.
Hey guys, I just asked ChatGPT, and I'd like to share some numbers with you. I asked it what percentage of the car industry contains EV automobiles, And what is the projection for the next 5 years in the United States only? And it told me the BEVs alone, the battery electronic vehicles, is 7 to 10% of new vehicle sales. I found that interesting. Is like, I didn't know it was that big. When you add hybrids into the mix, it's 20 to 22% of new vehicle sales. So that they break it down, or ChatGPT broke it down.
Well, a lot of places started with these hybrids. Lexus and Toyota, they have a very good hybrid that they've had for a long time. So there are some manufacturers that have been doing it. So.
Hey, Russell, welcome in, my buddy. We've been talking about the fact that with gas prices being so high and prices being so strong, that trying to see, we know the used EV market's getting stronger and stronger, but that maybe somebody had suggested maybe Volvo would do it, but maybe somebody would even partner with a Chinese EV because they're just building cars so much cheaper than we are. And right now you have just so many people that are getting strangled by the payments. So whatever thoughts you have, and if somehow Christian Youngren can unmic at some point, we'd love to get your input too.
Yeah, well, I'm out on doing anything with China, man. All they are gonna, it's just a way to find out every single thing they possibly can about each and every one of us. And that's just it's another TikTok is all it is. And I'm out on that.
Thank you for your opinion, sir.
By the way, it's okay to announce now that Russell's made all his millions from his company. He is officially joining Trump's cabinet as the Chinese envoy.
Yeah. No, and apologies for being late. You guys know and gals know I normally am not. My meeting went way over, but it was a very productive meeting.
Cool. Christian, you look like you've unmiked, my brother, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry I missed the last couple of weeks' game. SodaCon, and then I was in the air, I think, last week. But yeah, a couple things quickly. So one, I heard EV talk. I missed some of it I heard, but I think somebody talked about like starting a used car or a used EV, and I was just talking with several dealers about that, even at SodaCon as well. There's people out in California doing it, but I'm thinking here in Illinois, and I'm like, someone's going to do this, because I agree with y'all. EV is kind of like a motorcycle in my mind. It's right now it would be a good fit. Maybe it's not an everyday car, but it would be a good fit for gas mileage. Back in the day, I remember my grandparents always had a truck, and that was like the work vehicle. And then they had something that got good gas mileage, like a VW Bug or something. So anyway, I think there's definitely a place for it, and it sounds like there's some accessories that could be sold if you had a used car EV lot. And really in the heart or green. I mean, that would be like maybe an opportunity. So that's one. Two, a SodaCon, a couple things. One of the things that I thought was interesting for like dealer groups, one of the opportunities was remote dealerships. I thought that was kind of interesting. I know that came up, and I just sat there and right away it made sense to me. You've got a dealer group, and you've got one F&I person covered up, and then you've got two at another store doing nothing. I mean, so you could do that, and then obviously you've got remotes that could work at home and that type of thing. So I thought that was really interesting concept. And there's some dealers that have, the John St. John is this MIT program, and they've kind of taken this thing and really ran with it. And then last, I would tell you this: we still, humans aren't going anywhere. We still are social animals. We still crave human connection. And, obviously the AI scare, people are we going to have robots or Skynet or whatnot? I think the thing I probably learned most from SodaCon was, it's going to help us. It can really help us quicken or make a connection faster with somebody. And then it can free up time so you can deepen your relationship. So I think, I think we're going to be fine, at least in our lifetime. We're going to still need humans. So there you go. That's my 2 cents.
Any thoughts on a $640,000 Ferrari car that cost Ferrari $5 billion in market cap in the first day? No.
Yeah. Well, it's easy for me to spend somebody else's money and start an EV store, you know. Always easy to spend other people's money.
Yeah, if you're there, Steve Greenfeld was bashing on it too, but it's $5 billion in market cap lost in one day. Anyway, oops. So if you saw an MG Electric, if that showed up, Russell, or if you saw these companies that now sell cars in North America but are importing Chinese-built EVs, but for a domestic brand or an import brand, what would you think of that? Because that's a talk already.
It's not so much. They're a communist country, and they pilfer and steal and rape and pillage anything and everything they can, for the most part. And information is their power, and that's all I'm afraid of. I think people being able to sell to the United States, including China, is great. But it's what's going to be. It's not so much the machines; it's the onboard computer. That's what I'm concerned about.
And they've been stealing intellectual property forever, Russell.
That's where it came from. That's probably biased with some people, and
that's true.
It's just.
I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm just curious. I'm just asking the question because they're buying other companies, so you're probably going to see the nefarious parts and other things. Just like
but it still comes down to. It's about affordability, and many people have. Listen, when we first got Hyundai, okay, it was a decent car, but it was perceived as junk. Why did we sell so many of them? Because they had big rebates, and we could use them as down payment, and they became a special finance vehicle. So they might not be thrilled about getting a Hyundai, but they were thrilled to be able to get into something that they could afford.
I agree.
That's the only reason, because obviously
we're
built. The cars that are being built today are better than they ever were. We can be nostalgic, but they just aren't. But they're so damn expensive that there's a lot of people that just can't handle the budget, and the fact that insurance rates have gone up. So not only is your car payment higher, what you're paying for your insurance is higher.
I know it's.
Russell, I got a question for you. I just I was just reading that 7 to 10% are now in the market for EVs, and I didn't think it was that high. And over time, in the next 5 years, 20 to 22% are going to be a mix of EVs and hybrids.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah. So what do you perceive in the near future as far as the fixed ops? And what kind of opportunities does it open up for you expanding?
Man, I'll tell you, after I think that it's going to be the number one profit center and focus point, not just because I'm on that side, even though I grew up on the verbal side. I was fascinated, for those that you saw Steve Greenfield at a SodaCon, not only last year, but this year, which was a continuation. And let me tell you why. One, the average car is 12 and a half years old, right? So people need service. Two, connected services and EVs. The independents aren't equipped, although they're equipping themselves. They're not equipped right now to facilitate and work on those things. And because of connected services, we have an uncanny ability, particularly with AI in the very near future and already happening, to know shit's going to be happening. Check engine light's going to go off even before it goes off with anomalies, and being able for warehousing, parts distribution, time savings, cost savings, all those things are going to be applicable, I think. But Steve Greenfield showed up again this year with a different twist in his keynote. But I don't know if you noticed, any of you I know that Matt, did you see it, Matt? Did you see Steve Greenfield on Thursday?
Unfortunately, we were so swamped.
Good for you. Yes, you were, man. You were covered up every time I walked by.
I went to the breakfast and I was hoping he was going to go over more of the market statistics stuff.
Boy,
And, it turned into mostly just a intro meet and greet type of deal. And then of course I ducked in on some of his main stage stuff and then got pulled away. But yeah, I mean, he's always.
I wish you would have seen. There was a couple of areas highlighted in green on where the future's going, and the biggest gain is going to be in fixed operations because of some of the things we're talking about.
Russell, it's what dealers can control. You can't control what the factory's going to give you.
I mean,
or what
that's
they're
it.
gonna
You're
change.
right. You're right, Larry. Control the controllables. You can control fixed operations and used cars.
And it's an untapped oil well of opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's a single dealer in the country that has any clue how much market share there is to get if they just position themselves to get it.
It's because it doesn't show on your statement what you lost through service. It shows what was made that and what your expenses were, but not what you lost. And you guys are tired of hearing me say it, but I say it every damn salesperson when they're showing a car should take the people back to service and prep them and say, these are the nice folks working on your car. And by the way, our oil changes and tire prices are the same as they're outside, but you never avoid your warranty. We're an authorized dealer and we use factory parts.
I think that Mike, you brought up, and we, we're almost out of time, a wormhole. And I think you knew what you were doing when you asked that question. So I love you for it, man. And following up. So listen, we all, it was in Clubhouse on the human side of AI today as well. AI, it's coming. Can't do anything to stop it. Don't have time to go into that one. Maybe we can, maybe Ian and Larry will bring that up next week. But I gotta tell you, if it's true, and it, on the Clubhouse this morning on all things fixed operations as well, not counting the follow up to the human side of AI, David Sparks was also talking about. The only thing that's going to change is going to have to be the technology to help, because when I started selling cars in 1985, as you've heard me say on here, it was 10 cars as the average. In 2026, it's 10 cars.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's the same thing on the fixed side too. And people know it's not going to replace. It's going to be part of a job description. It's going to be a supplement to your
A tool.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a tool so you can focus on the things that we all need to focus on, and that is only the customer and building relationships. It's all about the customer and building relationships. And AI, you can naysay it, and just it doesn't matter whatever in history has happened. People, what do people do when they're living their life and they don't understand money and how to make it work for them? What do? They win a lottery, and whatever it is that they were doing up until the time they won that lottery exacerbates those negative behaviors, and they end up losing everything and becoming very unhappy because they don't understand. Okay. And that's exactly what's going on here. Don't fight the AI. It's coming. You can't stop it. You need to embrace it and make it a part of your life, which I think we all do, or we wouldn't even be here, right?
Exactly.
Russell, when cars came out, people lamented the fact that we weren't using horses. Anytime there's an industrial change, people lose their mind.
Oh, it was the same way when Henry Ford. Yeah, absolutely. And
It's Darwin,
Larry
baby.
was there. Larry was there, so he can tell you about it.
I was there spiritually. Listen,
Whoa.
Darwin had it right. We should have him right next to David Spizak. He said it's not the fastest or the strongest, it's those that can adapt will last.
So Larry, I want to tell you guys about one quick thing. 3 groups that I've worked with in the past 10 years, whether it be Jacobs, Motorworks, or Bill Walsh. All of them have grown by 300 to 400%. The only change in the culture and philosophy was a focus on fixed ops and how much more money I spent there, and doing the process the right way and having the handoff from service to sales. So when we combine our expense from going to spending 10% to 40% of my monthly budget on fixed ops throughout the year, I mean, I did up and down, but the difference was simply because I focused on fixed ops. Not that I focused on sales. My secret to success is not that, we sold more cars, but we sold them because we did more service. It was a very simple mathematical equation.
And you get more, and you get more trades, David. With fixed ops is working, everything's
hard, baby.
Yeah, it's no freaking secret. It's like Motorworks. How do you go from 700 to 1300? How do you go from 100 BMWs to 300 BMWs?
Yep.
Conquest more service customers. Equity mining, service to sales, good process, culture, people like you. You know, it's all based
serve the customer, build rapport.
Yeah.
That's right.
Don't be a
Put them in a
douchebag.
new car so they can smell it.
Yeah, don't cut your service budget. Focus on your service. And
Very
you'll sell
good,
more.
Sandy.
So they're just figuring out this now, and we've been doing this for over 10 years. It blows my mind.
Let him stay stupid. I'm looking for another vacation home.
But it's okay. We just keep coaching. Because
Yeah.
it's not every 3 years we go through the thing of we don't know what we fucking did 3 years ago.
Oh,
That's exactly right.
oh, there's the swear jar on that one.
I always have to pay.
We almost made it through a whole show.
Can't do it. Usually it's Wendy. Come on.
Yeah, and we're out of time. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, we were so glad you joined us tonight. We appreciate every one of you. We've got a lot of really cool topics, and we just appreciate the heck out of you. We look forward to seeing you all as soon as possible. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sandy had something to say real quick. I'll stay on. Go ahead, Sandy.
Matt, if you didn't get a Matt shirt or Horizon shirt, if you didn't stop by their booth, because they have definitely the absolute best giveaway shirt. So
Right on, man.
Matt, I'll send you a copy of Inner Moron Demons, my book. You send me a shirt. I think that's a fair trade.
That is a fair trade.
I gotta make more. They tapped us all out at the show. Took an empty suitcase, but I'll send you one when I get one.
God bless you.
and they were like, "Here, you want them?" I was like, "I'm going to see all my
Exactly.
nieces and
You learned all about EVs and you got fashion tips. This is the best show.
Mike, what book are you talking about there?
That's Larry's.
Larry's book.
Well, then, if we're doing book promotion, Christian also was part of writing a book, and I highly recommended you get it and read it as well. Christian, you're an amazing talent. Thank you for all you do, buddy.
Christian, when you're on next week, tell us about your book, brother.
Yeah.
And Russell, yours is coming out in the fall.
Don't you're not supposed to say anything.
Didn't hear anything. Not heard anything. Yeah.
I'm waiting
my
for the- I'm
anticipated
waiting-
Q4.
He's waiting for Rhonda's
I'm waiting
footprint.
for the dust to settle on David Long's book that comes out next week. Okay,
Okay.
so there's no interruption. Mike, I'll talk to you later about that.
I'm a troublemaker.
Everybody stay healthy.
That cowboy hat.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Look the Zoom. Look in the chat. I put there's a Drive document. It's a worksheet.
Oh, I got it. Beautiful. Thank you.
Claude put together doing the difference, a comparison of a gas powered car with an EV, and it looks like EV wins. It doesn't
And
have
just get to the tires. Yeah.
Yeah, just watch out for tires. That's all you got to worry about. All right.
Yeah.
And buy used
Everybody
if you
stay
can.
healthy.
You'll save money. Bye bye now.
Bye.
He is.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for helping the industry get better today live.